Hello, so for this week's meal prep, we're going to be starting out with about 2 pounds of chicken thighs. And I typically shy away from chicken thighs because they are a little bit more fattier than white meat chicken, which is why you see me cutting off the excess fat here. So if you're going to use chicken thighs for this recipe, please cut off the excess fat. Very important because we want to minimize the amount of fat that we intake. So the next thing I'm doing is just chopping up some of this green onion. I would say this is about a half a cup of green onion that's going in here. And we're essentially just going to begin to marinate the chicken. So after we've put in our green onion, the next thing that's going in here is our liquid coconut aminos. So this is about 3 tablespoons here that I'm just adding into it. And now I'm going to add in some white pepper, about a tablespoon of white pepper. And then, of course, my favorite, umami seasoning. It's going to add a nice deep flavor here. So I'm going to add in a teaspoon of that. And now I am about to add in about a tablespoon of this garlic paste. If you don't have the garlic paste, you can use garlic powder or even fresh chopped garlic as well. Now for a nice heat element, I'm adding in about a tablespoon of Sriracha. If you love spice, go on ahead and add a little bit more if you would like. Now I'm going in with some toasted sesame oil. This is going to give the chicken a nice little nutty flavor. Very good. And now I'm adding in about a tablespoon of fresh ginger. If you don't have fresh, you can definitely use powdered. And then some salt, about a teaspoon of salt. And now I'm just going to mix everything together, making sure that everything is evenly incorporated. And I am just going to set that aside and let that marinate for an hour. You can also let it marinate in the refrigerator overnight if you please and if you have the time. Alright, so now we're going to get started on our quinoa. So for our quinoa, we're going to be cooking it in some low sodium chicken broth for added flavor. So I'm using about 3 cups here of the chicken broth. Into that, I'm adding 1 tablespoon of our liquid aminos, a teaspoon of white pepper, teaspoon of onion powder, there we go, and a teaspoon of garlic powder. Now I'm just going to whisk that together. And I'm going to add a couple more seasonings. So a teaspoon of salt. And then I'm also going to add a teaspoon of the umami seasoning as well. So we're essentially just seasoning our cooking liquid. So I'm just going to whisk that up really nicely, making sure that there's no clumps of seasoning. And then I'm going to add it into a pot and let it come to a boil. Now I'm going to add in my quinoa. So I'm going to cook about 2 cups of quinoa here. Making sure that I have the 2 cups of quinoa in there. Awesome. And I'm just going to cover the lid and let that cook. Now your quinoa should be nice and fluffy like this. It takes about 10 minutes to cook, but definitely check the instructions on the back of the package. And also another tip too is once the water comes to a boil and you put the quinoa in, you want to have your heat on medium low so that the quinoa cooks evenly and the water does not evaporate too quickly. So now for the quote-unquote toppings into our fried rice, I'm just gonna cut half of an onion into cubes here, as you can see, and just chop that up. You can cut them whichever size that you like. And then I am going to whisk 3 eggs together, and that is also going to go into our rice. And then I also have those peas and carrots there set to the side as well. Those are gonna go into our fried rice, or excuse me, should I say fried quinoa as well. Now I am chopping up some more green onion. This is about 1/3 of a cup of green onion that's gonna go into the quinoa towards the end of the cooking process. So I'm just slicing that up, getting all my toppings ready for the rice. So now we're going to go to the chicken, excuse me. So now let's start cooking those toppings for the rice. So I'm just now adding in the egg mixture, and my heat is not very high here. My heat is like on medium low, and you're just gonna let the eggs sit until they start to bind like this. And you want to use a rubber spatula to kind of move it around. You don't want to scramble them too much. You kind of want them to be a little bit more uniform, and then you break it up later when it's in the rice. So once the egg has, you know, cooked and it's not too runny, but still moist, you want to just take it out of the pan. All right, now that I've taken my egg out of the pan, I'm going to add in a teaspoon of olive oil, and then 1 cup of the frozen peas and carrots, and then that half an onion that we diced up, with a pinch of salt and some black pepper. And I'm just going to cook this down until my peas and carrots are no longer frozen, and until my onions are slightly translucent, just like this. So I'm just going to take that out of the pan and put it into a bowl with the eggs. Now we're going to get started on our chicken. So I am going to use 2 teaspoons of olive oil, and I'm just going to circulate that all around the pan. And now I'm going to grab my chicken thighs, and I'm just going to place that into the pan, making sure that each piece is touching the bottom of the pan. This looks so good. Lovely. All right, and you want to cook the chicken until it's cooked fully through. Flip them over. Have a nice color on the other side. The chicken is done. You want to take it out of the pan, and you want to keep those drippings. And you want to add that cooked quinoa into the pan to pick up all the flavor from the chicken and the marinade. Then I'm going to add in my toppings, so the vegetables and the eggs. And now we're just going to mix everything up together. I'm using this spoon to kind of break up the eggs while I'm mixing the quinoa and all the ingredients together. Yes, this looks amazing. So now I'm adding in my green onion. And then I'm just gonna mix. And now I'm just gonna add some black pepper here, just for a little bit more seasoning. Mix that together nicely. Beautiful. All right. And now at the very end of the cooking process, we're going to add in some of that toasted sesame oil to the quinoa. And now I am taking the chicken, now that it's cooled down, and I'm going to just cut it up. And now for the plating, I've got 1/2 cup of the quinoa, 3 ounces of the chicken, and then some steamed broccoli. And there you have it, guys. Super easy, super delicious, and most importantly, healthy.